Hi, Bella here. Thank you so much for taking the time today and spend with me. Today, I would like to talk about the concept of exposure in improving your language learning. As an English major myself, when I was at university, that was basically how I improved my English. I have never been to an English-speaking university. I've never been abroad before I was able to improve my English language to a level that I was very confident about. So, and I even prepare some notes here to guide me through my video today. So hopefully you will find it helpful. If you do, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss a video with me ever. Okay, so you must have heard about the concept of exposure. In order to learn language, in order to improve, especially your spoken language, you have to constantly expose yourself to the English-speaking environment. So that is definitely the truth. But the problem is a lot of us don't really have any idea of how to expose ourselves and what kind of material or English learning media that we should expose ourselves to. So I'm here to give you a little bit of guidance, hopefully, based on my previous personal experience. So I have actually summarized all the important elements of exposure that you need to do into 3 categories. It's kind of in an order of, I would say, importance. The very first exposure that I think would be really beneficial for you is to expose yourself to video content or audio content that will help you improve your pronunciation. We all know pronunciation is so important. In order for others to understand what you're trying to say, you at the very least have to pronounce different words accurately so that there is absolutely no confusion or any other barrier that might affecting the other person to understand you. So the material that I used when I was a student was mostly news broadcast, and the reason for that is usually the news broadcasters have pretty standard accent, regardless of what kind of accent you are more into. I was a huge fan of American accents, so I was mostly listening to CNN News, NPR News, but my favorite I remember was CNN Student News. That was a 10-minute long news video. It covers different kinds of content. I used to do a lot of listening practice with it, but I also like the accent of that particular news broadcaster. So I often repeat the audio part of certain words so that I can get an idea and practice accordingly. There's one thing I want to point out is that to a lot of people, it's always very confusing as to how you could imitate different audio files so that you can improve your pronunciation. So I'm just going to talk about the way that I used to do, which turned out to be really effective for myself. Now, I do want to say it may not work for everyone, but it did work miracles for myself. So I believe in order to kind of correct and improve your pronunciations of different words, we do need to start with one syllable, one sound at a time. I remember the very first sound that I was struggling and trying to work on was the sound of R. And I remember the first couple words that I probably repeated hundreds of times, to say the very least, was the words like car, argue, because I was trying to get that perfect American accent. So I ended up having to repeat the audio of any kind of clips that might contain these words, and I kept saying it to myself, record myself, and then go back to listen to it to see the difference between my pronunciation and the pronunciations in the audio file. So you want to go with that. Once I figure out how to pronounce that sound, I would then try to find all the other words among the commonly used vocabulary and try to very consciously saying it the right way. And I find that that's really helpful because it's kind of like very simple-minded repetition, but it does help because it does train my tongue and the rest of my mouth to remember the position when I pronounce that word. and then I move on from there. And the way for me to figure out which sounds I need to work on, or which syllables I need to work on, was to record myself and listen to it over and over again. Or you could play it for one of your friends whose spoken English might be better than yours, or play it for your teacher if you do have the resource, to have them pick out the sounds that you didn't get right yet, or sounds that you need to work on in order to perfect your native accent. The most important thing, I think, is repetition. As we all know, improving your English pronunciation does take a lot of time. Practice doesn't necessarily make perfect. I remember one of my university teachers used to say, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So it's very important for you to figure out the best way for yourself as to how to use these materials. And I think it's also important as to what kind of material you're using in order to imitate and improve the different sounds that you couldn't get right before. Alright, I'm trying to not make this video too long, so please stay in tune for part 2 and part 3. Thank you so much once again for taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you do not want to miss any more video from me, please hit the button subscribe. Thank you so much.